just had the very wonderful Jennifer Cohen on the show. Now, Jennifer is an entrepreneur, podcast host of Habits and Hustle. This is a very amazing podcast that you should go and listen to. Really good cool guests like Mathew McConaughy, Tony Robbins, and Simon Sinek, and many others like Mark Cuban. So really, for all you entrepreneurs out there, get onto Habits and Hustle podcast. And also grab a copy of her book, Bigger, Better, Bolder. I really enjoyed this book because it's all about getting after it, getting out there and just activating your boldness muscle. As Jen says, boldness is a skill, and we dive into it in this episode. I recommend that you rewind and watch parts of this episode, and I call them out in the episode because they are phenomenal. And if you're someone that's stuck right now, this might just be what you need. I recommend that you follow Jen and that you take it to the next level with what she's doing. I love her honesty, and she's inspired me in my own life to get out there and just ask, right? Ask the question. You know, I'm big on believe it is possible and having that mindset, but also on risk taking. So this just really complements that kind of thinking. So this episode is definitely for you if that's something that's been on your mind and you know that you could be acting bolder, living bigger, and going after your dreams that you actually want. And she says that. Don't settle for what you think you can get. Go after what you actually want. Now let's get started. Over to you, Jen. Let's do it. Jen Cohen, welcome to the Tim Castle Show.
Thank you for having me, Tim. It's nice to meet you.
It's great to meet you as well. And I first came across your work on your Instagram. And what actually stood out was just how honest you are. Like, you get to the truth of the matter, the heart of the matter. And that really spoke to me. I have a psychology background. I also have an attitude of going for it. We're kindred spirits in that sense. But this admiration, like I really do admire how honest you are, because you tell it how it is, and you talk about the bits that most people would prefer to tuck away and not go there and pretend like they don't happen. And I guess the first thing to kind of kick this conversation off is around nerves and how do you deal with them? Because when you're getting approached, and as you've been very successful, people start to approach you with more opportunities, and they can be quite good for exactly what you want to do. But then something comes up inside of us and says, hang on, I'm not sure I should be doing this. We have imposter syndrome. Like, can you talk us through, because in the book you talk about the speaking gig application, the TEDx talk that you did, like, and I've listened to the talk, and obviously it's blown up. You've got 7 million views, fantastic talk, but just the process that you went through to overcome that and be bigger, better, bolder.
Bigger, better, bolder. Yeah. Well, you know, it's interesting. I kind of feel like, I don't know. I feel we all have a little bit of imposter syndrome, but at the same time, I really approach life with an attitude of two things. Number one is, what's the worst that can happen? And a why not me approach. And I feel like if we tend to have these admiration, we admire these people, we put people on pedestals that we barely know. You know, we look at someone else's life and who they are and their success, and we're in awe, like, oh wow, like I wish I wish I can have that, or I wish I could do that. And the reality is, like, I really kind of turned that idea on its head a little bit, and I've reframed to think, well, why not me? Like, if it can happen to that person, why can't it be me? The only difference between me and that other person is that maybe they believed in themselves more, and they just kept on attempting, kept on trying. And I think that that's really what kind of gets me through when I do have self-doubt, and when I do have nerves, and I'm nervous about, you know, going after something. I always try to remember that, you know, if it can happen to somebody else, why not? Like, why can't it happen to me? And I'm not going to count myself out before at least making that attempt. And that's really what we do. We are our own worst enemy most of the time. Like, we tend to not even put ourselves in the game or take a shot, and leave it to other people to get the accolades and the wins. And I just didn't want to, like, be somebody on the sidelines. I wanted to be in the game, and I wanted to put myself in the game. And you know, if my message and the whole purpose of what I do is to kind of give people inspiration that, like, honestly, like, nobody's any better or any worse than anybody else. It's not about the best. It's not about the most, the smartest or the prettiest or the person with a better skill set. It really is just about someone who's bold enough and brave enough to go after it and to ask for what they actually want, and not just accept what's available in front of them. And so I've kind of trained my brain to think that way. And you know, even when there's times when I don't feel that way, I act as if anyway. I do it even when I don't want to. I do it even when I feel, you know, low about myself, because the best way to get over something is to kind of like get under it in a way, you know? And that's really what I do. And you know, I don't think of myself as a guru or an expert in any form. I'm just someone who like tries, and through trial and error, and, you know, using myself as a guinea pig and watching all these other people in my life who I interviewed, the best of the world and everything on my podcast, Habits and Hustle. You know, there is no difference. It's just about really just about like mindset and just going for it.
That's fantastic. Yeah, I concur, and I truly believe so. So who is Jennifer Cohen, if we could put it into words?
That's a big question. I don't who is I mean, I'm a lot of things. I never really put myself in a box like that. I think that question always I don't know, that always like stumps me away, because I'm such a plethora of a, depending on to who, you know, like, you know, I'm a mom, I'm a wife, I guess, you know, I'm an entrepreneur, I'm a fitness person. Depending on who you ask, they have a different version of who I am, right? Like, a lot of people only see me as like a fitness person, and a lot of people only see me as a motivational speaker. So I feel like I'm a lot of things, and I never pigeonhole myself. Like, if you look at my career, it's very much like it's like a Rorschach test, because it's so all over the place. It makes no sense, and that's fine by me. I don't really have like I'm not really great with like having a really tight sound bite sentence of who I am, because I think I really am a lot of things depending on the person and on you know, the day. But I will say, at the core of who I am, beyond my career, I would say that I try to be a very authentic person, a person who's actually a real person, and not somebody who is for the moment of what's trendy or a hashtag. I'm not, you know, if you go on my Instagram or whatever, I don't, you know, I'm not someone who just like falls prey to what's kind of like the hot thing now. Like, right now, everything is about entrepreneurship, but I've been doing that forever. You know, it was now everything is a craze about wellness and fitness. I've been doing that for like 25 years. You know, like all these things that have become cool or hip or, you know, hashtag worthy now, I've been doing it for like 30, you know, forever. So I feel like I'm just who I am, and, you know, whatever that may be, it's what it is.
I love it. Yeah, you're just who you are, and whatever that may be, it's what you are. Because yeah, obviously, like, and I think you're being quite humble here. That you are a very, very successful entrepreneur. You have your amazing podcast, Habits and Hustle, which is all about getting in with the right people on the show to talk through their wellness, their productivity. You've got Mark Cuban, you've had Simon Sinek, Tony Rock, like you've had some big, big names. Like, how did this, in terms of your journey, evolve? Like, as you said, like you're this medley of things, and you are what you are, which is amazing. But like, do you see the next move coming? Do you see where you want to take it? Or is it that it evolves as you go?
I think honestly, what it really is like I have an interest in something, or I'm curious about something, and I just kind of ask a lot of questions and just try it out. I'm
Yeah.
not afraid to fail. I've taught myself that failure is part of the process, and I become so desensitized to falling and getting up. Like I always say to people, like I have a master's in falling, but I have a PhD in getting myself right back up and trying again, because I've trained myself in that way, that like I just do it. And so that's really what it is. Like there was the evolution kind of was very natural. I was in the music world and I left. I went into the fitness world because I loved fitness, and then I pivoted again. Like I'm constantly like pivoting and moving and changing. I'm a very much a chameleon in what I do for a career, because I have a lot of things I'm interested in. And I think that people have a lot of transferable skills. I think that, a lot of things we have skills that can work in a lot of different industries in a lot of different ways. And we don't have to pigeonhole ourselves into one specific thing.
Mhm.
So, I think that curiosity has been a really big reason for a lot of my success. Like I said, I ask a lot of questions. I tell people all the time that it's much more important to be interested than interesting,
Mhm.
because that's how you learn a lot about things that you otherwise wouldn't know about. That's the pathway to communication and to opportunity and to so many things by being curious. And if you are somebody who isn't naturally a curious person, I suggest that you learn how to become more curious. So if you're like a 4 out of 10 or a 3 out of 10, try to become a 6 out of 10. I'm very much a 10 out of 10, probably a 20 out of 10. But I think curiosity is like a brother or a sister to boldness.
That's what
And
has opened up all the opportunities. It's that curious nature.
I think just because I'm curious and I try and I ask and I try and I've kind of like, I lead with that. And the other part is I think that, naivete is a strength. I think that being naive and not knowing all the bad things that can happen or how things were done before actually works to our benefit. That's why people, like kids, like when you're younger, we go for more stuff, right? Because
Yep.
we're not as scared of the outcome. We don't know as much. We're not as we don't see all the repercussions and all the other things that were done before or prior. And then as we get older, we get much more set in our ways and rigid and scared of trying things. And if we could just take ourselves back to when we were younger and childlike, with that naivete, that ignorance, or whatever you want to call it, it works to our advantage a lot of times. And so for me, being having naivete around something that I'm interested in and not researching the hell out of it and needing to know every data point about it has been a real advantage, right? Like to me, like sometimes the less you know, the better. That's it. The less you know, the better, because you go. You don't overthink it. You don't think of all the things that are going to go wrong and bad and terrible and who's done it and why it didn't work. You just, you kind of create your own path.
Yeah, and I love this. This is it. You build the plane on the way down. That's very much the entrepreneurial mindset coming out, and that starts to speak to people around. They can see how what you're saying they can put into action, because some of these people listening today will be stuck on a point and they won't know how to get unstuck. And literally, this is it. You're literally giving them a guidebook on how to do it. But you do say that boldness is a muscle. Boldness is a skill. It's a direction. Like it's happiness is a destination. Boldness is a direction. Like I love the book Bigger, Better, Bolder. Definitely go out and get it, people. But if someone's sitting there now and they're thinking, they're listening to it, and they're like, "Yeah, I'm all in. I want to do it." But what is the first step to all of this? Like, how would they start? If yes, it's fine if I can just get on with stuff. But what if I'm not wired that way to begin with?
Right.
How do we
Well,
tackle that?
you don't have to be like, I think that's the myth, right? Like the myth is that we all, either you're born bold or you're not, and like kind of like you're shit out of luck if you weren't born and wired that way. But the truth of the matter is, like anything else, I believe that boldness is really a skill, and it's a skill that we can harness and get better at by practicing it. Like if you want to be better at Spanish or Taekwondo or soccer or whatever you want to do, what do? You have to go out there and practice and make and get better. And if you don't do it, and when you stop doing it, that atrophies like anything else. And so I say to people all the time, like, if you're not bold, start with the little things, become bolder by making these little bold moves. Because the truth is, if you can't ask for the little things in life, you're never going to be okay asking for the big things in life, right? So start small. Start by, like, going to a coffee shop and asking the coffee person if there's a local discount. Or, I always tell people, go to a restaurant and ask for the salad dressing on the side, or substitute something on the menu. I mean, these are not major things, but these are, funnily enough, things that people like are so nervous. Some people, not all, are uncomfortable and nervous about doing. They think they're making waves, or they're like being a bit, they're being pushy. They're like, they don't want to like, kind of cause a kerfuffle. But like, those are small nothings. How are you going to ask for the job you want, or the girlfriend or boyfriend or husband you want, if we don't even, at these major life decisions, if we can't even like get comfortable with these minute little things that are right in front of us? So I say, start small, get comfortable asking for little things. And like, I think things compound over time. I think that as you get more comfortable, you get more comfortable, right? So I think, and when you see success in whatever it is, like, oh, that wasn't so bad. I asked for that, and it didn't. I didn't die. You feel okay about asking the next time. And so, to me, that's how you start. I also tell people, and this is what I talk. My book is all about this. My TED Talk's all about this. Is this idea of this 10% target, and this idea of the 10% target is really about making 10 attempts at whatever you want most. So pick one thing that you want, one goal. It could be big or small, and then make 10 attempts at that. And the reason behind it is that it's twofold. Number one, that, even if you don't get that goal, going down that process you may not even get that goal, but another opportunity will present itself that you never even knew existed by just going down that path and doing it. The other thing is, it gets you comfortable with the attempts and comfortable with failing, because now you've got 10 chances, 10 attempts to do it. So if you fall, you got to get back up and try another tactic. You're not changing the goal, but you're changing the tactic. And so by doing that, that's how you become desensitized and comfortable with this idea of failing, right? By doing something over and over again, especially if you have that, you're in that mindset of, okay, I have to make 10 attempts. And I think once we're on that path, it's amazing what happens. So it's not about necessarily even getting to that goal. It's about learning how to go through that process and what happens with you, and how you feel, and what other things happen by doing it.
Wow, yeah, that's just blowing people away. Yeah, that 10% target mindset is awesome. That definitely stood out to me when I read the book as something that you can just put into practice. You can start to become more bold, but also to quiet that voice in your head. Like, right, that's the you versus you.
Exactly. I did a podcast yesterday, and the lady who was doing the podcast with me, she's a Real Housewife. I think I don't remember which Real Housewife she was, but anyway, she was telling me the story about this. Like, we're talking about the 10% target, and she told me this funny thing, how she was flying on the Emirates airline. Was it the Emirates airline? And I don't know where she was going, right? And she was saying that she was in business class and she really wanted to be in first class. And there's a big distinction between the first class and the business class on the Emirates airline. I didn't know this. I've never flown Emirates. Have you?
Yeah. There's a
okay. So
that's
what?
There's a huge level up. Yeah, there's a
huge level up. She said it was like next level difference, like huge.
It's like
right?
a hotel.
Is it what? Yeah. And so she said that wanted the upgrade. So she asked someone, she called, and they told her when she called that it would be a $15,000 ticket difference. So she was like, okay, she hangs up. Then she goes and she emailed someone, and someone told her in the email it's 12.5. She's like, oh, that's interesting. Then she goes to the ticketing agent at the airport when she was checking in, and they said it was $10,000 to upgrade. So she's getting lower and lower, right? Then someone else said no, it was 20,000. So now she had made 5 attempts, okay? Mm-hmm. On the 6th or the 7th attempt, she's now in business class. She's on the plane, and she still didn't give up. And she says to the flight attendant, I really want to move into the first class. And they're like, on the plane, they're like, okay, it's $1,000. So she, after making 7 attempts, she got to the first class from business for $1,000. So if she just stopped at that first attempt at 15,000, right? Then she would have been like, forget it, I'm not paying that, click or whatever, and just moved on with her life. But she was embodying this idea. She read the book and she was like, you know what? I'm going to keep on making attempts. Like, just because that one ticketing agent, like maybe someone else will have a different answer. Like, she didn't stop. She didn't take no for an answer. And she got it for $1,000. Now that doesn't always happen. But my point is, you don't know what you don't know, right? Like, you don't know what the outcome could be. So why not at least make it shot? Like, what's the worst that can happen? That the other person says 15 or it doesn't work out. You're no better. You're not worse off because of what that answer was, right? There's only an upside, and she got it.
That's so cool. Jennifer Cohen starting a trend here. Everyone getting into first class for $1,000.
I didn't do it. She did it. But like, I'm actually just really curious what the difference is between the first and the business class.
Oh, it's insane levels of luxury. Like, it's just next level. Like, you have your own.
What is it?
You have your own suite. There's a
like, have your own room. Like, how do I don't understand.
Pretty much. Yeah, it's your own room. I think they've got like a shower in there. Like, it's proper stuff. I mean, there's first class in Emirates. There's probably only like 10 different booths or suites, and you can kind of go in and whole lay down bed. Like, it's like a hotel, but it's just the food quality, like everything's next level in terms of the champagne, like what the service, like it's an experience in itself. And I think that people would definitely aspire to that, but knowing that they can try 10 times and then on the 6th or 7th time potentially get it for 1,000, that's definitely going to start a wave today.
I know I shouldn't say that because now it's going to, everyone's going to ask, but no, but then what is the business class like? Is it just terrible? I don't understand. Like, business class seems pretty good too.
It's not terrible by any stretch of the imagination, but the first class is significantly different. Like, I would say that the first class is just a nice first class. It's just what you'd expect, but just with the nice touches. Like, they've got the nice mahogany wood. It looks great, but you're still just in front of economy. You can hear those screaming kids that are just at the front next to you, which is crazy when they do that, right? You put all the kids.
Yeah. I know that it's like a very thin, like a very skinny, thin nylon that they put there.
And the difference in price is significant again, just to get from economy to business. So I think the main thing is obviously the experience and the custom, like just having that experience, being there, flying there, doing it. Emirates is a solid airline. Obviously, I think she's probably going to Dubai if she's going Emirates, but
probably, yeah, I think she was. I mean, I didn't get that detailed with her, but yeah, probably.
This is awesome though, and I do think this is great because this is what people should try. And the fact is, Emirates can deal with this. Like, they know what to do. If this drives the demand for first class, like, people, it's the habit of trying, the skill of trying, the muscle building of trying. Like you said, it's the person to come from trying, not necessarily whether you actually get the goal, because it's the fact that you will go up against and move the needle on where you already are, and you'll overcome that fear with boldness.
Exactly.
I really like it. But then to build on that, then we're bought in. We love being bold. We've got this bold mindset. We're like, yes, 10% target. I'm all in. Let's go. How do you deal with other people's expectations and opinions that they have, because it's like crabs in a bucket, right? Like you start moving and they start going, like we'll get into this. I want to touch on the Keanu stuff, but like they start ridiculing, they start pulling you. Like, how do you deal with that? Because that's also coming at you as well as yourself.
You mean like ridicule? Like, what do you explain
Like
what you mean?
someone's got like, so say you could earn a lot of money in a particular field or job, but that is just not fulfilling. And you're like, I'm done with this. I want to go start my own business. And then your family or your friends are like, that's not a good idea. You can earn
Oh, I
100%
see what you mean. Like so you're talking about when you mean more when you are the boldness of taking risks.
It feels like a risk, but also it's a direction, right? It's that move that you're wanting to do. You're personally feeling fulfilled by it, or you
Well,
think
I feel like people should be very very careful of who they tell their ideas to, or who they tell their big dreams to, right? Because if you tell your big dream to a small-minded person, your dream will be squashed, right?
yeah.
Like I feel like if you have a big, like if you want to, like a lot of times people insinuate their mind, like they project their life and ideas onto someone else based on their life experience.
Mm-hmm.
And I find that to be a really dangerous path, right? Because people are giving you their perspective of what you don't know, their reasons for telling you or why they're thinking a certain what you should do. Like I feel like we put the onus too much on what other people's opinions are versus what we know for ourselves to be right. And that's why that's why I'm not a big believer. I'm very careful of who I seek advice from for those reasons.
Mm-hmm.
Because have you heard of a saying? It's called Schadenfreude. Schadenfreude means, Schadenfreude means enjoying, kind of like taking pleasure in other people's misery. It's kind of
Oh,
like misery enjoys company. That's kind of the idea behind it. Because you know that you've heard that, like misery enjoys company. It's kind of like Schadenfreude. And the truth is, like, people want to see you where you, like, people are most comfortable seeing you where you're not a threat to where they see themselves or to who they believe themselves to be, right? So, and that's psychology, that's human nature. So you have to create I call them a bold of directors, which are these people around you who are really like-minded, who want to see you win, who want to see you succeed and help elevate you. You guys have the same, you're like-minded, you have the same goals in mind, not like the exact same goals in that way, but like you both had the best interest of the other person's success and you help each other. And so that's what I talk very much about in my book, is building this board of directors of people around you. You are the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with. So you better surround yourself with people who are your tribe of people. And that means a lot of times cutting out a lot of people in your life that otherwise didn't serve you, or who are toxic in some way, or who have other ulterior motives. But you got to be very careful. And even with mentors, like a lot of times, like not having a mentor, having a mentor can be sometimes detrimental, right? Because then their influence on you is so high. And, we all have an intuition, we all have a good gut, and we have to learn to listen to it a little bit more and pick and choose the people we do have around us. If you have a mentor, or, and the board of directors that I just referred to, make sure that you guys are have the same type of life plans and goals and interests to help build each other up. And so to me, picking those people is very, very important for success.
I think that's a big mistake, that people, they change mentally themselves, but then they don't change the people around them. Like you say in the book, like you go to the doctor for an expert opinion if you feel sick, you go to an architect to build a house, you go to a plumber to sort out your plumbing. These are experts in those fields, but we need a board of directors who are going to elevate our life and help us kind of stay on the right path. Together we can kind of throw ideas out there, like what can we do? I've tried 3 times, I got another 7 because Jen says I got to get to 10. What else can we do? You kind of ideate on it, right? It's you pull each other.
And exactly. And the other part is that who kind of help give you accountability, right? Like we help you with the accountability of getting to where you're trying to get to, and opening up their, contacts and all the other stuff, like to really help you. Like that's why a lot of these things now can be really, really helpful. These masterminds. I mean, if you don't have a place to start from, you can start by, that's one good thing about social media. One of the only good things that really actually is that like it's a plethora of so many people. So you can find people very easily that are similar and like-minded. There's masterminds, there's groups, there's so many different ways to find people that have similar interests on the online, like that you have interest, that have similar interests than you. And you don't just have to rely on like the people you've had in your life forever, because we do unfortunately outgrow a lot of people, and that's okay. It's okay to outgrow people you've had in your life, and it's okay to kind of come to Jesus and realize that some people have not been good influences on you for what you're trying to accomplish in your life.
Massive. That's massive. Thank you for
and it's the
dispelling that
truth.
myth. Yeah, it's important, right? Because we've all got people around us and we're all getting new people around us. And if we think that we don't have to change the people, that's a big component of us moving up in the world and being more bold. And if that's going to hold us back, then it's going to hold us back. So building on that, then something we touched on earlier was risk taking. Something that you talk about in the book and your TED talk, which is fantastic, is taking the risk and asking for what we want, right? Asking for what you want. You did that at an early age. You put yourself in a position. Like, can you just talk us through that quickly, and then how that kind of set you up, or what you think people can kind of put into action from that?
Well, yeah, I mean, listen, I learned early on that boldness was the secret sauce, right? To success, and it wasn't all the things we talked about. And it was much more important than intelligence in terms of being successful. When I was younger, you're talking about the Keanu Reeves story, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm talking about the Keanu.
Yeah.
The point you said
That's
about
a long story, Tim. I think people should listen to the TED Talk and like understand it. But he's just for quickly, I did this thing where I asked Keanu Reeves I was really young, and I asked Keanu Reeves to help me with something, and everyone laughed at me. And then it actually ended up happening. And so that was a pivotal moment, because it showed me again how important it is to ask for what you want, because you never know what the outcome will be. Even it could be an outlandish, crazy ask, and yet it can happen. And I will say though that I was bold before then, because that was a really bold move for me to ask, but I was already working my bold muscle to even get up to that place where I felt like, why not ask him, right? And it was because I was already doing a lot of things that were bold. And I feel like, again, everything is a compound and there's an accumulation effect, right? Like you do one bold thing, another bold thing, and it becomes easy. It's like a gateway drug, right? Like it becomes easier and easier to do the harder, bigger things if you have had so much experience with the littler or more medium-sized things. And I feel like once I started doing this, where I was like, you know what, like, what's the worst that can happen? I'm gonna ask for this, or I'm gonna try for that. And when these little things were actually like working out, I was like, geez, I'm gonna keep on with this thing, right? and that's basically, like I said, this is what's so interesting is this is not rocket science, and sometimes the best things, some things in life, like some of the best advice or the best things in life are just so simple, stupid, right? Like it's like, yeah, when people say to me all the time, like, how did you get this person on your podcast, or how did you do that, or how did you do this? And I'm like, I don't know, I just asked. Like there isn't necessarily a huge business plan and projections and PowerPoints to like these things. A lot of these things don't make any sense in the moment, and you connect the dots later on, like years later, right? Like it's like, sometimes it's as easy as, I don't know, I just tried and it worked. Just as often as like, oh, I just tried that and it didn't work. Like, it's about throwing a lot of shit at the wall. Some things stick, some things don't, but the more you throw at the wall, the more that will stick, right? The less you throw at the wall, the less things are going to stick, right? It's a volume game. So every single success I've had, I can count you 1,000 things that didn't work, right? But it's keep on going, keep on throwing, keep on going. That's really what it is. And if people tell you otherwise, they are lying to you. Most people don't know why this worked or that worked, or like, people are like, why do you think this went? Why do you think your TED Talk went viral? I don't know. Like, I guess people liked it. I guess it clicked on the algorithm. Like, I don't know. Like, most of the time, like, if I was to be totally frank with you, and you probably will agree with this, like, a lot of the things I spend the most time on, where I'm like, a reel that I put so many hours in, and I cultivate, I like edit it properly, and I do this, and I do all the right things, it flops. And the stupid thing where I'm just sitting there with my pen in my hand, twirling it, gets at 5 million views. It's like, what the hell? Like, like, lots of life isn't about plan. Like, the more you plan, the things that you actually plan tend to not work out. The things that are kind of just like happen, those are the things that actually work out for you. So that's what I'm saying. Don't spend so much time on the back end planning and this and that. Like, you're wasting your time, because we don't know why things work sometimes and why things don't. We're all just guessing at the end of the day. It's all a big guess. And that's what it really is.
I love it. I love it. Boldness, the gateway drug to being a bolder. Like, it's just taking action on things and just going for it. Like, you're speaking my language, Jen. You're speaking the language of the audience. It's time to wrap up, and thank you so much for coming on the show.
You're welcome.
Where can people find out more about you? Where do you think they should go to get the good stuff?
Well, they can buy my book anywhere they want. They can buy my book at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, wherever. They can sign up for my newsletter. They can go to jennifercohen.com and get my Boldness newsletter. They can follow me on Instagram. They can follow me on TikTok. I mean, they can subscribe to my podcast, Habits and Hustle. What else? I mean, I think all the above. All the above.
Definitely. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure and a kind of pivotal moment in my life. Like, I've wanted to get you on this podcast for a while. I'm a big fan. I think they should definitely
thank you.
Instagram for sure. And check out the TED Talk, and even just rewind the last 5 minutes, because what you just unpacked then was sensational. And I think that can change a lot of lives if people just rewatch the last 5 minutes of this. And
thank you. I appreciate that so much. Thank you. Thank you. And thank you for waking up so early.
Oh, it's all part of it, definitely. For you, Jen, definitely. This is happening.
You'd wake up at 5 a.m. if you had to.
5, 4, let's go. Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.